Fourscore and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated.
Okay, hello everybody. My name's Jameson Chase Young, and this is Coins in History. I'm here in Hodgenville, Kentucky, where Abraham Lincoln was born. Inside that big building, that's the building that has the Abraham Lincoln's birth cabin. And it's a really amazing place, and obviously Abraham Lincoln is a really amazing person. He's probably our most important president. Probably definitely our most important president. On almost every list I ever see, he either ranks number 1 or number 2, probably 95 to 99% of the list I see, he's ranked our number 1, best president ever. He was born here in Kentucky. At the time, it's currently Hardin County. At the time, it was called LaRue County, Kentucky. It was basically the frontier in 1809, February 12th, when Abraham Lincoln was born here. And he was born in this little tiny cabin. If you come here to take the tour, it's a pretty cool tour, and when you're like walking up there, it's amazing to think that the cabin is probably the size of some people's walk-in closets these days. When we think of somebody like Abraham Lincoln, we think of like this, giant figure, this magical guy beamed down to us that came from, some castle or something. No, he was born inside a cabin here in the frontier of Kentucky, and the cabin, like I said, it's just a really tiny. I can show you, and I'll make sure I zoom in on it, because the cabin's so small, and that's where Abraham Lincoln was born in 1809. And then I'll bump the lighting and you can actually see in there a little bit better where Abraham Lincoln would have been born. Like when you're walking up there, it's kind of a grand old walk. You'll just be walking up these huge staircases. It feels like something you find in Washington, D.C., these grand steps up into this grand building. And it's kind of funny because the building's so grand, you're expecting something, like some type of treasure in there, some type of monument. And when you get in there, it's really small. When you're walking up here, you feel like you're walking up to some real grand place in Washington, D.C. This doesn't feel like something out in the middle of Kentucky. On the building it says, "Here over the log cabin where Abraham Lincoln was born, destined to preserve the Union and free the slaves, a grateful people have dedicated this memorial to unity, peace, and brotherhood amongst these states." That's what it says on top of the building. And, on the outside, the whole place is kind of cool. It has cool little walking paths. A lot of them are shut down right now simply because the snow and the ice, and they don't got too many people here maintaining them. It's a very slow time period. And it looks like I can show you, it looks like there's even hotels for rent in the nearby area. He was basically totally self-taught, self-educated. He had 1, maybe 2 years of formal schooling at a one-room country schoolhouse, but he taught himself how to be a lawyer. And he then, went on to be an Illinois legislator, and he became president. He won the November 1860 election, and then he became president in January 1861. And obviously, when he took office, states were already starting to recede from the Union, and by the time he was just a couple months in, they all would have receded from the Union. And the Civil War was massively horrible. If you do the population percentage numbers, I one time did the numbers, it was you had 30-some million people in the North, and the Confederate States had 10 million. And if you do the numbers on the Civil War, it would be the equivalent of us, the same kind of casualties we took in Vietnam in 10 years. It would be the equivalent of us having a war where every 2 weeks we were taking the same casualties we took in 10 years in Vietnam every single 2 weeks, for 3.5, almost 4 years. That's how bloody the Civil War was, percentage-wise. Overall total numbers too, but percentage-wise it was even significantly worse. And it was Abraham Lincoln that obviously led us through that. It was Abraham Lincoln that obviously, he's credited for ending slavery. The Emancipation Proclamation is one of his, biggest achievements. He probably has the most famous speech in all of American presidential history, all of American history, maybe, the Gettysburg Address. And it's unquestionable, he's just kind of one of everybody's favorite presidents. And he was killed on April 14th, 1865. But yeah, he was killed by John Wilkes Booth, and the guard, the army guard who saw John Wilkes Booth walking down, because he was killed in a theater, Ford's Theater, and the army guy saw John Wilkes Booth walk down the hallway, but he let him go because John Wilkes Booth was an actor. He figured Abraham Lincoln must have like sent for him to talk to him. And John Wilkes Booth, he was kind of the second-rate actor. His brother actually was the famous actor, the most famous actor of the family. And he was killed just 5 days after the Confederacy surrendered. So he did live to see the end of the Civil War, but he never really got, 4 or 5 days after a big war like that, the country is so war-torn, it's still kind of a war zone, especially with the kind of lawlessness that was going on at the time. So he never got to see the full, the reconstruction and how good the country eventually became. And, this is kind of like one of those, this isn't like a normal time period in American history. This is kind of like, World War II and the Revolutionary War. Like, this is a pantheon moment. Like I said, it's a Mount Rushmore of American history, this time period. So this is a very amazing time period in history. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you take the tour, and I hope you enjoy these videos. And if you do enjoy the videos, please like and please subscribe. My name's Jameson Chase Young. This is Coins in History. Thank you.